Hi everybody. How you doing? It's a nice day here in Texas. It's been raining and it's actually I think it's still only in the 80s, which is really good for us. I have I have some questions that came in with my posting, but I also have one that came in the early before the show even started. Dale asked a question about it was this, and it's I just found out that my so-called selenite is actually called satin spar. Real selenite is kind of like clear quartz, not milky white and in fine strands that I was familiar with. Well, Dale, to some extent, that's true, but I pulled up all the kinds of stuff that can be classified as selenite because it comes from gypsum, and some of it's very exotic looking. And I'm setting it up over here on the table so that we can go over this. And this now, there's selenite and um, satin spar, and uh, there's also desert roses, and I'm going to show you them right now. And they all come from this basically the same minerals, but they form differently, and so people give them different names for different reasons. This is a traditional selenite wand, like you'll see, and it's lots and lots of straight lines and layers of, and I believe it's made from salt. This is also a selenite tower, which are manufactured. A lot of them come out of India. Um, if you can look at it certain ways, and it can almost feel like you could see through it. It's almost transparent, but not quite. These two, this is a desert rose, and this is carved by the wind out in the desert. This is also a kind of desert rose, and it's also made from gypsum. And the coloring comes from the other minerals that the stone was surrounded by at the time to make a big difference. Now, this is satin spar, and it's called Dirty Diamonds. And this was actually sent to me by a woman who lives by the Great Salt Lake. And as you can see my fingers through it. And that's what some people are calling satin spar. As far as I'm concerned, it's a selenite. It forms the same as this. It's just the water is clearer. And I'm not a geologist, so keep that in mind. Now, this is a clear Icelandic calcite, and this comes out of some caves in Iceland. And I'm not altogether sure how it works, but you see it's kind of an odd shape. This is what they believe the Vikings used to navigate, because Vikings didn't have compasses, and they would go out and they either had to cling to the land to navigate, or they had to be able to find north, south, east, west somehow. And I've actually seen a demonstration on Josh Josh's show on History Channel, the expedition show. He went with a crew of people, and they showed how when the sun shines through this, there's a way to be able to tell which way is north because of how it refracts through. It actually creates two beams. It's very interesting. So that's also almost a kind of calcite. I mean, it's calcite, but it also comes out of the same things as these sort of clear formed in nature stones. So um, just to let you know, don't cash in your selenite just yet, Dale. Um, that it if you look it up, actually, I saw two different explanations on two different websites when you posted your question this morning, and none of them. Well, they both had two different explanations, but they were talking about the same stones coming out of the same sort of layered formation, and I don't know if someone's selling one and charging you more for it. I'd kind of ask them why. I mean, I'd find out, see if I couldn't tell any difference. And if, what happens with me and stones is I hold them, and if they seem okay, then I keep them with me. And so, uh, real selenite is not as clear as quartz. Um, there was a couple of examples where it showed where it was really pretty clear. But the piece I have, the what they call dirty diamonds out of the Great Salt Lakes, there's a lot of goop in there. I mean, you can see it was on the dirty bottom of something. And so so that's my lecture on quartz and selenite and all the rest of it today. Clear quartz is incredibly clear, and its crystals are formed differently, and it's made from a different material. And I see people arguing about politics. So if you guys want to go look at politics, go to this YouTube station. It's YouTube, CLSB Politics, and that's done by my son. He started it last week. Did he ever pick the right week to start a show on politics? Yes. Um, you've been very kind in going over and looking at his stuff. His stuff's much shorter than mine. He tries to keep everything to 18 minutes and less. And his first show was about, so you want to run for office, what do you need to know? And when he and I worked together, we had that speech with a lot of candidates. But so if you want to hear his latest things on the VP picks and some of the others, sort of what the thinking is in the political community, that's a good place to go. And they don't make them too long. I have some other political sites I like to go to, but I just told Sean, I said, if you want to build a membership, keep it short. He's also doing little 15-minute vignettes on the 2025 report, on that thing that the Republicans want to push on people, and he'll call me and we'll talk about those things. So if you're interested in that, go there. I'm not going to talk about it because it's not that I'm not interested. It's just not what I do. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to look and see if there's any comments. If you would like to ask a comment, I have about 5 things to read that got sent in ahead of time. And you can, and I'll be doing those banners now and reading them on the table. That's why I've set up the garden, and I've got cards, got all kinds of stuff. And so we're going to go over the garden. And that's where we're going to be for the next little bit. Okay. And the ways, let's see if I can get it up higher so you can see the whole garden. Earlier it was being the whole garden, but now it's not. You'll have to trust me when I interpret down there if we get to that point. This is a political thing. Harris is a dragon in the Chinese calendar. A dragon in the year of the dragon. Yeah, that's a very, if you understand Chinese astrology, that's a very interesting and powerful mixture. And this lady was nice enough to write me about, she's gone over and seen Sean's channel and she liked it. So, and I call him the kid, even though he's almost 50, because he was a kid when I gave birth to him. Okay, now this is Patty Sylvan Butterfly. I want to set up a daily candle ritual and or crystal or some sort of grid to focus on being positive about the election results and to support U.S. democracy. And I actually got a couple different questions about that this week. Um, in I had emails from people who wanted to know where and how they could go volunteer, what they could go do, um, and I answered those questions. But what you're looking for, if you're looking for a place to set up a daily ritual, and you want to do something that's peaceful and thoughtful, this is blue lace agate. It doesn't have to be, and it does not come. It was carved to be this shape. It it usually looks like sort of a lump, but it's a real pretty shade of blue, and they don't have to be anywhere near this big. That's blue lace agate, and this is blue calcite, and they're kind of almost in the same color family. And I think if I was doing something that was to put a blessings on something, and I wanted to calm down, this is what I would. These are the stones I would use. And then I happen to have on my desk a blue candle. It's a tall, thin one. You can get them at the dollar store for like no money. And I always tell people, if you're going to do that kind of a thing, make sure you get a candle that's in glass already, or you have small votive holders that are sturdy. And I mean sturdy, because I had a votive candle blow up on my desk and started on fire because it broke the glass, because the glass wasn't very good. So I get sturdy candles now. I don't screw around about that. But just set those up near you. You can set up any formation you would like. If, since you're asking for a positive change and bringing together people, I'd find another stone to balance it out. It could be a blue stone, it could be a white stone, it could be whatever you want. I'd set up a little triangle. I'd focus on whichever stone I was making. In this case, I'd make it this stone because I really like this one. I'd concentrate on that stone, and I'd just do it whatever time of day you can find that you know you're going to be able to cut out that bit of time. And I know a lot of people say do that first thing in the morning so that you can do it and you can be sure you're doing it. But, um, some people like to calm down at night. They don't want to watch TV, news, whatever, and, find some good soothing music. And speaking of soothing music, I've been I've been watching. There's been several different things where it's shown up um, on YouTube where they're attaching these these electrode sort of things to plants, and the plants make a noise. They have an electrical field that they can translate into music. And I was just this morning, I tripped across one where it was in Vancouver in their botanical gardens, which are absolutely gorgeous. And this guy was attaching these to these different plants and making music that was going across the park. It was fascinating. I don't know that much about that. I've studied plants and how they communicate with each other, especially mushrooms, uh, which all relate to each other. And of course, trees that talk to each other through their root systems. There's a couple pretty good YouTube videos on that and how trees communicate. And it's really fascinating. And I want to learn some more about that. So be aware, see if I can find enough to put a show together. And here's blue crystals again. Can you recommend blue stones to help our garden tribe to be of assistance in increasing energies of unity and recovery? I just did that for you with the blue calcite, blue lace agate, and this is the matrix. This is the stone that the blue lace agate was in. That's what that white stone's called. And I'd use those the same way. And you can, if you watched last Thursday, I did a show with Debbie Joyce, and she talked about meditating a white light or a blue light bubble, and then envisioning the people that you think could use that could use the energy for this kind of a positive change, and send that bubble to them, and say, I've given you this, and then cut all ties with those people. She was talking about how we can deal with difficult people in our lives. And that's the way to deal with difficult people. And I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of feeling like we need to put bubbles around people in the next 100 days. I think the election's 104 days away. And it's going to take up a lot of our energy. Of course, some people, they're in their own personal lives, have things going on that are just as weird, just as bad. So let's see if I get any more comments. And I was supposed to have a guest today, and I'm not going to go into all the particulars, but as soon as I advertised that they were going to be on, they called me up and said, "Oh, I can't make that commitment." And that's the second time they've waited until I put the announcement up that they're going to be there. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to go back to banners and hide. And so I'm kind of at a loss because I was not feeling terribly well this week. And we're going to have another person who's not feeling terribly well here. Okay. I felt like I need to wear my orange calcite for the last 2 days. I think I lived lifetimes in my dreams. Any suggestions, please? Well, you go to the stones you're attracted to. An orange calcite has a lot of energy in it. Um, it's it's it can kind of get locked up in mental energy, which is for better or worse. But the mind stone in the garden is an orange yellow calcite, and that signifies when we throw it in the garden, um, the the mind and mental energies and how it's integrated with all the other things that are happening around us. So if you've been drawn to that, that's good. And you may be well seeing lives you've had in the past or lives you may have in the future in your dreams. And I don't know what I can suggest to you except you're being aware of what you feels happening around you, and that's important. Let's see the other person had a question. Can you look at my energy right now? I'm not feeling really great. And I'm not sure if it's not a bug. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how bad it was. Saturday morning, I woke up and we found out we didn't have a valid COVID test in the house, but I really felt like I had COVID. I still think my voice sounds rough, and my ear um, my ear feels stuffed. But I just think this full moon kicked our butts. It was the second full moon in Capricorn. It was announcing a change of energy. And I actually saw some astrologers who were saying if Joe Biden could make it past this full moon, he'd be fine. Well, he made up his own mind, which every time I did a reading on it, it showed he was going to do what he was going to do. And he did what he was going to do. And that's an event we can look at to see how those sorts of energies work. But Tammy, I think you need to take a rest. I don't think, if you're like me, there's not something you're going to be able to take. What I'm going to do this afternoon, I'm going to go out and go to a place that I enjoy and try to break out that way. But your energy's down, but so is so many people. Their energy is down because it's confused because what they thought was going to be happening around them isn't happening around them. And even if it's I have a harder time with really good things happening around me than bad. And Sean's that's Sean's YouTube channel because it came up as a question. I'm not just hyping him again, although I'm hyping him again. It's CLSB, Charles Lawrence Sean Briscoe, politics. And I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you can find it. I hope that answers your question. Um, and I did warn Sharon she needed to have that. Flower Beauty Peacock Rainbow. Now there's a name. Now that's a name. Okay. What else is going on? Yep. Let's see. Oh, the grid I created was whatever that is. It's hertz, 38.3835 hertz. Good to know. Okay. Okay, we're gonna roll you in the garden, Pixie Shiki. Okay. Okay. What's coming to Pixie Cheeky in the next 2 months? Woo, a lot of good stuff. And things are going to start happening in this because this is the period of time we're in right now. This is winter, spring, summer, fall. And things that you're becoming aware of now are going to play out and become really important in the winter. But you got some really good stones here. Your body, which is this stone, it's fusite, has landed in a space called Go For It. And it says this movement's going to be really easy for you to go through. And it's just your compass is going to be really good because it landed in true. When the answer when the body lands in true is yes. I don't know, yes to what, but maybe we'll see that here. And it's going to be something you've done before. You've done it in a past life or earlier in this life, and it's just going to strike you. That's why it's going to roll together and be so easy because you've done a lot of the preliminary steps about it. You have real knowledge about it. You know where it's going to, and it's going to be having something to do with creativity because you have your grounding landing in the sacral chakra, and whatever you want right now, this means for right now, and this is for the next couple months, you are supercharged. Your ability to manifest and bring in good stuff is super, super charged. And your mind, which is in water, you need to let go of your limitations. These things would flow in a lot more easily if you would let go of your sense of limitations. Oh, I can't do that. Don't think I can't do that. You can do whatever you want to do. And how you think about it and how you create it in your own mind is all important. So when you get some negative thinking, uh, push it away and realize you've been here before. And that may be part of it because you think, God, this is just too easy. How could this be this easy? Why don't we ever let ourselves do the easy things, right? Why not? And you shouldn't have to. I know we were all taught you have to work really hard to learn these things. I always found the things I did best were the things I just knew how to do. And your um, clarity is coming out of the tree of life. And it says your path now is blessed with clarity and wisdom. That, girl, is one of the best readings I've ever had in the garden. The next 2 months, you are going to really be shining. But you need to open yourself up and not be afraid to trust your inner spirit. And that looks really, really good. You gotta come back on my show. I'm usually on Tuesdays at 1:00 and let me know how it's going. Or you can write to my email at Crystal Directions. And this is a nice idea. I'm thinking about putting little blue stones on a small American flag in your little altar to democracy. That's great. The more of us that think positively about our democracy and about what's going on in our country right now, the better off it's going to be. And this is another one. She's got a rose quartz that's been carved into a heart. I don't have that many stones that are carved into a specific shape, but if you like have a dear pet that you like to keep near you, or you want to keep your thoughts positive about them, you can get little carved dogs, little carved cats, you can get little carved Buddhas, you get little carved hearts. And I know a lot of people will get carved hearts and they'll hold them next to their next to them. I have an orange calcite heart somewhere. Oh God, it's in here somewhere, but don't ask me where. Um, but it's here. And when I used to put it on my reading table, orange calcite gives you a lot of energy, and I used to keep it on my table so if it was a long day, I could kind of hold on to it that way. So holding on to that, Barbara, is a great idea. Now, question: what is the purpose of that person coming into my life or lesson? Okay, I'm going to do that one with the cards. And I got to figure out which deck. I'm going to use the Housewives Tarot. And I used to read in a vintage clothing store, and they sold items that were used. You'll see pictures of them in these cards. So we're going to. Okay. What is the purpose that person coming into my life or lesson? So I'm just going to ask in general, what was the reason that person showed up in your life? And we'll try to interpret whether it was a lesson or just you knew each other before, or they're being mutually supportive souls. Okay, he showed up at a time in your life, and he's really is basically a good guy, but he showed up at a time in your life when you were strange is too strong a word for it, but you were having problem within your own family, and you were trying to rethink the rules that your life lived by. And he really, this is the Five of Pentacles, and in the traditional deck, that would be the couple walking outside the church in the snow, but at this time it's reversed, and this means he helped introduce you to some new things that you needed to learn about, but you just don't feel you're still working on integrating some of the lessons he taught you into your life. But he's really a good guy, and his purpose is to shake you up and get you out of living in your old family mode of thinking. Not that family modes of thinking are always wrong, but in your case, you were holding on to the wrong lessons. And let's see if that's. Yeah, this said it was all time. It was time to break away from your family had a really strong holding you back from meeting new people, doing new things. And if you hung in your family mode, you'd never go anywhere. So, okay. Hi. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, but what happened is it didn't show that I was testing at all. I mean, the test was dead. It had no reactive things on it. So I just decided to self-diagnose and guts it out. This would be true. I don't know where Flower Beauty Peacock Rainbow lives, but yes. Uh, why did he step down? Because it was the right thing to do. Because I'm not supposed to talk politics on this channel, but they were the. I used to work in politics, Flower Beauty, if you don't know, and the channel I suggested, the CLSB Politics, is a really good place because my son is running it, and it's a good place to get very basic political information. And when you're running a race, and I used to be a campaign manager, when you're running a race, you do go out in the community and try to sense what the temperament of the community was. And because of some things that had happened, um, Biden's Biden was not, when they added up, like they'd poll, will you vote for this senator, which is a statewide race, and they'd get how many people were going to vote Republican, how many are going to vote Democrat. Then they'd ask about the presidential race, and they found out that Biden's numbers were much lower than the senators' numbers. And um, it was basically, oh, you're from India. Basically, it was felt he wasn't growing, his numbers weren't growing, people were not recovering their image of him, and he realized that he was going to be a weight on the ticket. I cannot tell you how the kind of ego it takes to stand up there and run for these offices, and the fact he stepped down was just incredible. Um, okay. Okay. I don't know your living circumstances, Flower, and I really, that what you asked me is a very deep kind of question. But I will tell you, where you grew up and the standards that were put on you by other people can be as important as the family you don't, that you said um, if your family's not alive. So um, some things you've clung on to about how you should behave are what this person helped you take a look at. I don't know if you've broken out of them or not, but it was a chance to get some new beginnings. Okay, guys. But that was the purpose that person came into your life, was to open you up to new ways to do things. The cards are very plain about that. Anybody else? If you don't have a question, I have things, places to go and people to see. Um, I have to go. I finished the grid, the one that you saw me building, and I need to get it to the post office. I was going to get it yesterday, and then it rained, and so I didn't go out in the rain. But it's going to be the sunny today, and it's going to be in the 80s, so I'm going to go to the post office, and then I'm going to come home and make some chili. And okay, I'm looking at new gallons. You're welcome, Flower Beauty, Peacock Rainbow. We got to come up with a shorter name for you. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Okay, another political question. For the person who's desperately trying to not take political, Prince Charming's mom. Why do I feel like I did when JFK died? Because we really have stepped into a new reality. First of all, we've never had a person in office that was statesman enough to realize he could, and especially he's looking down the barrel of the 2025 if the Republicans get in power. Biden has done everything, including, this is what he's done since he was 29. And for him to pull out and stand back and trust, he must trust Kamala. I mean, I can see why. I've seen her speak a few times. I've met Joe. He is the nicest, most ingratiating man. When people talk about that, it sounds like we all drank the Kool-Aid, but he really is. Um, you shifting veils, you can come out of the dark. The news is not bad. Um, but when JFK died, we crossed into a new threshold, a new reality. Absolutely. I mean, McKinley died in the early 1900s, but that wasn't as shocking as like when Lincoln died. And I grew up in the land of Lincoln and, knew all about that. But we all grew up in that sort of secure little bubble that, big changes like that weren't going to happen. And they do. It's really true. And, I keep saying, I'm like, that sign said it perfectly that I put for my uh, thumbnail for the show, announcing it that, I keep waiting for things to slow down. And, someday I'm going to die, still waiting for things to slow down. They don't slow down. And one of the things you'll hear, Danny and I are going to do a show on 8/8 Lionsgate with Dorothy Morgan. And I believe it's going to be on the 1st of August. But if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll get lots of notice. We're going to talk about this Lionsgate. Lionsgate is always a deal. It's a time when the Earth lines up to the center of the universe and two big star systems. And it actually starts on the 26th. I think in 2 days it starts. There's a whole target window, 8/8. The 8th day of the 8th month happens to be the exact center of it. And it's a very powerful day. And it's always been a powerful day, but the more that people look at it, they realize, oh my God, things were shifting then. And Danny and I did a show 2 or 3 years ago, and he and I had both seen the same image. It was 3 years ago. People were walking, humanity was like walking in a line, like down this road. And all of a sudden the road split, and part went one way and part went the other. And at first, the people in the lines realized they were getting separated from friends, but they didn't think that much of it because they could always kind of run around and find it. But eventually, both Danny and I had the same vision. These lines are going to get so far apart, there's no reaching over. And we're all going to start moving faster. And one of the messages Danny and I got at that time was to let go of baggage you don't need to carry in your life anymore, because it's just weighing you down. And since the eclipse in April, everything's accelerated. And so it's really, and it's accelerating more, and it just keeps accelerating. And part of the way to survive going through the acceleration is, for one, our frequencies are changing. And okay, I'll put in Sharon Sipe wants it, so I will put it up. That's Sean's channel. Make note of it, Sharon. He doesn't do live shows like I do. Everything's speeding up, and the more you have that's weighing you down or holding you back, you can't keep up with the energy, or you're going to use so much energy trying to maintain what you have instead of going forward to this wonderful new things. And it's like all trips. They're not all even, and they're not all just, every second of them isn't sunny, but they're better than staying behind. And and I actually haven't talked to Danny about it. I've collected a lot of information. The reason we're bringing Dorothy on is because in the next 18 months, between 2025 and 2026, there are going to be 3 major outer planets moving permanently into new signs. And if you don't study astrology and you don't really care, you're going to hear it anyway. When the big planets and the outer planets move very slowly, like it's taken Pluto 200 and something years to get back to where it was when this country was created. And that's some of what's going on. Okay. Um, and it's been an insane year, and you saw how things can shift on a dime. I had, I tell you what, I had just finished the Sunday show where I do discuss politics with Scott Allen, and he and I both did not. We saw if Joe left, it would be because Joe wanted to. We did not see Joe leaving, and an hour and a half later, Joe had decided to not campaign. So, and every other reader was reading the same thing. The only person I know who said something different was Steve Judd, Judd. He's an astrologer, and he went up. He said, "I have to come up." He said on Friday. He said because in the next 72 hours, um, everything's going to change. And the last time I saw him do something like that, he announced that on January 6th in the U.S. on 2020 that uh, Mars was moving into Aries, and it was right at the time they went marching up to the Capitol and started raining, going into the Capitol. And the other thing Steve Judd has predicted is 9/11 is another one, and that was published in a newspaper in London because we still had newspapers on 9/11. Uh, so there's a lot of just changes going on, and we just need to be we don't need to make it freak us out. We just need to get calm enough and then figure out what we can do to participate and make it positive. And anyway, that's the word from the garden today. And I'm going to look one more time. And I don't have anybody else who has a question. And, if you're drawn to a stone, go to it. If you're drawn to doing something, go for it. And thank you, Dale, for your question about selenite and satin spar, because it gave me something to talk about. And I'm still doing readings. I have space on my calendar. If the last 6 months are like, if you come now, I mean, I cannot believe the year's gone this fast, but you can get a 6-month reading from me right now that will take you through January. So if you're really curious about what's going on, and it's specific to you, it is not, I don't do giant universal ones for the world. I also do regular readings. I do past life readings, and I still make grids and try to help people if they have questions about stones. So if you go to my website, which I know Sharon has put in here, but I have it up here too. If you go to that website, you'll find a place that's a store. And you can go up in the store and you can click on items, and it sort of explains all the different things I do. And I really appreciate everybody showing up today. And I will see you later. Bye.